A brand new poll out of the state of New York shows Donald Trump gaining on Biden. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video. Today, it is time to talk about the 2024 presidential election because, everyone, we have yet another poll out of the state of New York. You know, one of the most Democrat states. Yeah, yet another poll that shows Trump not only gaining in the state of New York, but outright surging, as now, according to Emerson, Trump is within 7 points of Biden in the state of New York. Yeah, that's not a misquote. That's what Emerson College just found in New York. Now, before I continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, all support is greatly appreciated, and yeah. Now, I do want to be clear that I am not saying for 100% certainty that Biden will win New York by only 7 points. I still believe that at the end of the day, Biden will win the state of New York by a wide margin, though not as big as he did back in 2020 or what Democrats usually win the state by. I think it will be much closer, but Emerson College is yet another poll that shows Trump is gaining in New York, not just by a little bit. He is doing 10 to 15 points better in the state. So let's get into it. A new Emerson College polling survey of New York voters finds President Biden with 48% support in the 2024 election, while 41% support former President Trump and 12% are undecided. When undecided voters are asked which candidate they lean towards, Biden's lead increases to 10 points, 55% to 45%. But even with that in mind, like, okay, the undecided voters are going to break for Biden. This was obvious. Anyone that understands who these undecided voters are realizes, yeah, they're going to lean Democrat. These are not Republicans. These are partisan Democrats that, or at least a chunk of them are, that won't admit they're going to vote for Biden. But at the end of the day, a large chunk of them will. The problem is, even with that in mind, a 10-point victory in New York is a 13-point shift from 2020. Which is a huge shift. And on top of that, this is the head-to-head matchup. Theoretically, based on who the independent candidates are, you would think the head-to-head matchup would be Biden's best performing part of the poll, which it is. Because when you include RFK, Cornel West, Jill Stein, etc., his 7-point lead drops to 6 points. You know, the exact margin Zeldin won by back in 2022. Yeah. That's what Emerson College just found. So, even in a best case scenario, according to Emerson, Biden, without RFK, Jill Stein, whoever else on the ballot, Biden wins against Trump by 10 points in the state. Independent voters in New York who traditionally vote for Democrats, according to exit polling, have flipped the lean towards Trump by a margin of 10 points, 43% to 33%. Yeah, a 10-point lead for Trump with independents. And back in 2020, the same independent voters voted for Biden by 17 points. So according to Emerson, we are seeing a 27-point shift with independent voters. Yeah, that explains why Trump is doing so good in New York. Because if you do that much better with independents in any state, it doesn't really matter which state it is. It can even be a state like Vermont. If you're doing almost 30 points better with independent voters, yeah, I would assume that you would be doing a lot better in that state. Whether it's New York, Vermont, it doesn't really matter. 30 points better with independent voters, doesn't matter the state. Yeah, that's probably a sign of big improvements across the board. But notice, this margin of victory, you might be saying, well, there's a bunch of undecided, so maybe all these undecideds break for Biden. There's a massive problem with that theory. Just look at the exit polling. Trump got 40% of the independent vote in New York back in 2020. According to Emerson, as of now, Trump is at 43%. So it doesn't matter what these independent voters do, they could all break for Biden, which they won't. A large chunk of them probably will, but we have to assume that Trump wins some independents, some undecided voters. You have to assume that. So either way, Trump is polling better with independent voters than he did back in 2020, no matter what happens. That's a sign that, yeah, he is in fact improving in the state quite considerably. New York voters were asked about Trump's criminal trial, and for those that don't know, this poll was taken like 3 days ago, so right before the verdict was announced, and they did ask questions about the trial. 27% expect the jury to find him guilty on all counts, 44% guilty on some counts but not all, and 29% not guilty on all counts. Yeah, you heard that right. More people thought Trump was to be found not guilty on all the counts versus guilty on all of them. Yeah, in New York. You know, one of the most Democrat states, the state that the trial occurred in. Yeah. More people thought he was to be found not guilty than guilty. Regarding if voters would find Trump guilty or not based on what they have heard, 46% would find him guilty on all counts, 20% guilty on some, and 34% not guilty on all counts. Yeah, you just heard that right again. Not even a majority of voters, which, by the way, you would think, with it being a Democrat state, a state that this same poll has Biden winning by like 7 to 10 points in, you would expect it to have the vast majority of them saying, we're going to find him guilty on all counts. Nope. 46%. Not even a majority. And you have 20% that said they would find him guilty on some. But let's be real. The 20% that said they would find him guilty on some counts, I guarantee you, these people didn't even watch the trial. They're the ones that would say, you know, he might be guilty on some of the stuff, but I don't know. So I'm just going to say he's guilty on something. These are the undecided people that have no clue how the trial really went. They might have heard some stuff here and there about the trial, you know, maybe how insane it was, who knows. But these are the ones that they probably just don't know enough about the trial. Which you would think, okay, with it being a bunch of Democrats, you would think these people would be saying he's guilty on everything. No, they're not saying that. In fact, it's the opposite. There's a large chunk of them saying, hold on a second here. Trump might not be guilty on every single count. 71% of Democrats would find Trump guilty of all charges, while 71% of Republicans would find him not guilty. Independents are split. 37% say he's not guilty, 35% say he's guilty of all counts, and 29% think he's guilty of some, but not all counts. Kimball noted. Yeah. The plurality of independent voters in New York said he is not guilty. And at best, they said he might be guilty on some of the stuff. Not, he's guilty on every single charge, we must throw him in jail. These are independent voters in New York. These are voters that you would think would be some of the most Democrat-leaning independents in the country, because they are. They voted for Biden by 17 points. Yet even they realize he's not guilty. He might be guilty on some of the stuff, but not every single count. He should not be thrown in jail for however long he's been thrown in jail for. But that's what the jury found. Regarding aid to Israel in the war with Hamas, 48% of New York voters think the U.S. is spending too much, 21% too little, and 31% the right amount. Regarding humanitarian relief in Palestine, 34% think the U.S. is spending too much, 33% too little, and 33% the right amount. In other words, Biden is screwed. No matter what he says, no matter what he does on the issue of Israel, he's going to piss off a half of his party. Either he pisses off the pro-Israel wing, or he pisses off the pro-Palestine wing of the party. The economy is the top issue for 34% of New York voters, followed by immigration, crime, housing affordability, healthcare, threats to democracy, and education. Yeah. The economy is number one, obviously. Immigration's number two. Crime is number three. And housing affordability is number four. Healthcare, which is a Democrat issue, is the fifth most important issue right now. The top four, as of now, are issues Republicans are winning. And not just by a little bit, by like 30, 40 points. The economy? Yeah, it's by 50 points. Immigration? Probably 70. Crime? Probably like 20. Hell, even housing affordability. An issue for years Democrats have won on. They campaign on for affordable housing, you know, for years. Well, that issue relates to inflation. and cost of living. And guess what? Voters blame the Biden administration for the inflation crisis. So the top 4 issues are issues Republicans win with. And this is New York. This isn't Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana. This is the state of New York. And even the voters here are picking issues that Republicans usually win with, as of now. 44% of voters think there's more crime in the area compared to a year ago. 41% think there's about the same amount of crime, and 16% less crime. And you wonder why crime is the number 3 issue in New York. 44%, the plurality, think, yeah, there is more crime in this area compared to a year ago. And for those saying, well, actually, crime rates are down, bullshit. Just because prosecutors are not prosecuting any criminals, that doesn't mean crime is down. Look at New York City. Alvin Bragg. He's not doing a damn thing about these criminals. So does that count as crime going down? No. Crime is becoming a big problem. It's becoming less safe. If you really think the city of New York is magically safer than it was 15 years ago, you're crazy. Or even 10 years ago. You would be seen as a whack-ball in New York. Because even the people in New York City understand crime has gotten worse. A majority of voters consider the number of migrants seeking sanctuary in the United States a crisis. 35% think it's a problem, but not a crisis. And 7% think it is not a problem at all. In New York, they're saying this. They're saying the amount of migrants coming to America right now is a crisis. It's not good. 58%. With 35% saying it's a problem, but not a crisis. The fact that only 7% of New Yorkers said there is no problem at all should make you really wonder, why the hell are some Democrats on Twitter saying to everyone, immigration's not a top issue for voters in New York? Really? It's not an issue? When the vast majority are saying, yeah, what's happening with immigration is a crisis, so you're just going to gaslight them into thinking, no, your opinion is wrong. And these idiots really cite the idea of, well, actually, New York's not a border state with Mexico, so therefore, immigration can't be an issue. Are you insane? Just because it's not Texas where it's right on the border, that doesn't mean squat. Because take a guess where migrants are going. They're going to cities like New York, and they're causing a bunch of problems. That's why a bunch of voters in New York are saying, this is out of control. This isn't good. We gotta solve this ASAP because they shouldn't be here. The fact they're just staying here and we're paying for it and a bunch of people are suffering because of it is crazy. So the more you look at this, the more you realize this is a huge problem for Democrats. This isn't just, a fluke. Every single aspect of this poll indicates, yeah, Biden has a big problem here. Hell, he has a 39% approval in New York, with 50% disapproval of his job. That's a, 40-point swing from 2020? The numbers here are pathetic for Democrats, and that's why they have a problem. This isn't just some fluke. A fluke is one poll showing this. Virtually every single poll out of New York this year has shown a trend of Trump doing way better in the state. Now, could he be doing a little bit worse than the polling indicates? Maybe. But even with that in mind, this is a clear trend towards Trump. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.